that went on during that time. So I don't buy that as the reason. In fact, the Polish were told that the Russians had landed on the moon. But most Russians know that the moon landing thing is just a hoax. It's not true.
I agree with the street guy.
Hey, you. I'm in Chelmsford now, running a little bit later than scheduled. I ran into some hectic traffic. It's an accident. I don't think anyone died. Hi, folks. I've got some wonderful information for you. Turns out that... Oh, super. Turns out the Earth is not a ball. It cannot work as a ball. The physics of things floating in space just doesn't work in reality. In Disney, yes, but in reality, no. Water is always level. It always finds its level. Sea level, oceans level. That means the oceans are level between one continent and another. You look like a very intelligent young lady. I hope you have a wonderful life. Keep questioning, keep your mind open. Don't believe everything that the authorities tell you. Because I can tell you as a 50-year-old man that I have been lied to for most of my life. Taking back control of that is the most liberating experience that I can commend to one and all. One and all. It's not quite as frenetic as the earlier place we were at, Ipswich, and for that reason, it may be that I don't bring anything operatic out of the bag. I have to confess, it's not really something I planned to do earlier. It just kind of bubbled out of me, and I had no choice but to let it go, let it out, and it felt absolutely wonderful, liberating. And I don't know if I filmed it on this channel, on my channel, but I know that Harry got it on the Globe Live thing. It was quite a nice moment for me. I'll probably watch that myself, just because it was like, shit, I just am being myself. I don't give a rat's backside of whatever anyone thinks about me. In fact, in the main, it seemed like people in the space around me were smiling more than anything else. It seemed like a happy moment for anyone most people who were listening. Not all. You know, there's obviously a... It's all right. Some young girls nearly got themselves into a little bit of trouble there. Hello, young ladies. I'm here to tell you that you cannot possibly be living on a spinning ball. I know this may seem crazy at first, but the truth is, Earth has to be flat. And the reason for that... Pardon me?
Are you from South Africa?
I am.
I'm from South Africa.
Oh, you really? Where from?
I'm from Cape Town.
Cape Town. I lived in Cape Town before I moved to London. I was brought up in Durban, though.
Oh, Durban. I
So,
can tell the accent, yeah.
You've lost your accent a bit.
I was a baby. It's my family.
Okay. I was a baby born in England and taken to South Africa, so the other way around. But I love Cape Town. I know that when I first found out 3 years ago that the Earth might not be a ball, I started looking at the maps, and the first things that came into my mind was looking across Table Bay, and seeing land on the other side, or Table View, or all those places up the coast that you shouldn't be able to see if you lived on a ball, because it should be behind the water. I've got here a photo. The world record photo is 400 kilometers long, and you can still see the beaches on the other side. That's impossible on a ball. Well, imagine if I was to say to you in a science class, can you build me a model of the Earth?
Yeah.
And you have two choices. You either have to build it like in a bathtub or a swimming pool and make it flat and put some rocks inside to make a continent, or you have to come up with a gravity device that is going to make water stick to the underside of the ball and allow your little characters and creatures to walk underneath that ball and not actually fall off it. You know that in reality, the latter option is very hard to do. In fact, we've never done it. And it turns out that gravity is just a theory. So we although we know that the Newton apple falls on the head and all that business, yeah, what does that then allow us to then say, okay, so something fell down, yeah, that means that people can now walk underneath a ball. That's a big step from something falls to the floor, yes, or if it's lighter than the air or the water that it's in, it'll rise, like an apple might rise out of the pool, or a balloon might rise out of the pool, or a helium balloon might rise in the air, yeah, a hot air balloon might rise because it becomes lighter than the surrounding atmosphere. Yeah, so that's all buoyancy and density, and those things existed long before gravity was invented, the idea of gravity. But if gravity is just the dropping of something, you pick something up and it falls back down again, that doesn't allow us to live on a ball. It's just not enough on its own. And I now accept that I was brainwashed for 47 years of my life. I'm now 50, and for 3 years I've been trying to find culture, and it doesn't exist. the maths apparently for curvature is 8 inches in the mile squared. So over 10 miles, it's like 800 inches of curvature, just 10 miles. You shouldn't be able to see the coast of France from England, but we can see it on a clear day. The curvature is not there. And so I know that my bathtub is a level water when it's still, and my pool is, if I had one, would be still, and the lake would be still and flat and stuff. So also the oceans. We call it water level and sea level. Therefore, ocean level is a no-brainer. I mean, it might go a little bit up and down with the tides. Yeah, I'll give you that, no problem. But it doesn't turn into like a bending, curving body of water, right? So I say that the coast on the east coast of the UK here, you've got it like it's one sea level, and then you go over the landmass to the other side, to Wales or wherever, and it's the same sea level. Yeah, that makes common sense. When your teacher drew it on the board, she would have gone, or he would have gone, line, landmass, and line. Not curve, landmass, more curve.
Yeah.
And because if there was curve and curve, then boats or ships would go down the curve, and then actually when they got to the port they arrived at, they would have to turn around and go back up. But actually the mystery and magic of relativity says that when you get to your destination port, magically you become back on top of an earth where everything is back down from you, rather than you've gone down and now you should have to surely come back up, because what goes down must go back up.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So those are the things but I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just saying, please go home, research this, look at it with yes, possibly so I have been lied to. Yes, possibly that every movie has started with a ball spinning in space that makes me think that I live on a ball. Me too. But the physics of water, the natural physics of water, is that it will always find its level. And that actually, if you trust your senses, you realize this Earth is not moving and spinning at 800 or 900 miles an hour, depending on where you happen to live. And if we were spinning, like the whole atmosphere would be, you'd notice kind of forces associated with moving at 900 miles an hour. It's faster than a bullet nearly, you know? So these are my thoughts for you, young ladies. You seem very intelligent, and of course you're from South Africa, which gives you a little advantage over your friends. That's a joke. But you know. You've just made my day in Chelmsford. Let me tell you. Did you get one of these little leaflets?
No.
I have a YouTube. You can take this one. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Trinity 4. Trinity 4. You can, if you want more information on how wacky the world is, come and check it out. It'll hopefully lead you to other information, because it's all about you learning that you won't learn the truth if you watch the BBC and the Netflix and all of those things. Even the National Geographic documentary channels, I used to love those. Turn that all off, because they're giving you one version. There's other versions, and I can assure you that other versions are more empowering. Because where this leads to, once you realize that they've been lying about religion, they've been lying about science, they've been lying about pretty much everything, which means that the uncapped pyramid, have you heard of the uncapped pyramid? A lot of people talk about the Illuminati and like these secret societies, and on the back of the dollar bill they got like this uncapped pyramid, and people wonder what the uncapped pyramid is. Well, I'm telling you that you are the top of the pyramid. You are meant to be the divine creation's kind of expression on this earth. So imagine you were a beautiful light when you came into this life, and your light was either enabled to be a bright light or held back to be a dull light. And I see people, even at my age of 50, whose light has already been so dulled that they have little life left in them, when in fact we should all be given that opportunity to flourish, to be nourished and so on. But we live in a slave system that kind of would prefer to hold you down, make females feel less, or make men feel like they have to be supermen or alpha males or whatever. So there's a lot of mind messery going on, and I'm saying that if you learn this, then you won't get distracted by this idea that you're meant to be like a Britney Spears or whoever. I don't know what reference to use, but for you. But you know, you don't have to be, or a football star. This isn't what your life is meant to be about. It's about finding that true divine essence within you. But my science had me thinking that I was just a lucky strike insect that came out of the slime and became a monkey and then became a human. I believed in evolution. And I believe that I was just lucky to be alive, and I would die and that would be the end of it. But I had an experience, like a near-death experience, that showed me that actually we are eternal beings and that we live, I think, like eternally. And once we leave this skin, this avatar, we will go back to the creation or creator and come back again possibly. But I don't know about the comeback. I just know that you are divine and you are meant to be at the top of the pyramid, and the system would rather have its government, its queen, its all these other things, its banking system hold you down and keep you poor in the mind, body and soul. That's my speech. Trinity 4. Lovely to meet you, ladies.
Thank you.
How about that? How about that? It's lovely to meet some folks that still have a slightly open mind, have a great life, young ladies. That's kind of exciting for me, you know. I mean, imagine just those three take it and do something with it. You know, they were like a little bit, like most people, a little bit kind of, you know, skeptical or mocking at first, I think. But I kind of got their attention, and yeah, I guess I was trying to, obviously I had that opportunity to relate to that girl on the South Africa connection, and that I think that really helps. I think that really helps. We are in a much smaller, less dense kind of crowd situation here, so I don't expect me to go on any kind of wild rampages of shouting and screaming. Hi there. Have you looked at this before, young lady? You haven't? 3 years ago, I hadn't heard of this at all. I have to be honest with you. But then I used to believe everything pretty much the government told me. Now I know that the BBC is a system of deception.
Load of bollocks.
It is a load of bollocks. The British Bollocks Corporation.
I agree. I don't believe anything they tell me.
No, and even
I turned my TV off.
good man. I did too a few years ago, and I don't pay my TV license anymore.
That's why I don't have a TV license. I don't have a TV because I don't want to pay TV license.
Good. Well, I mean, yeah. I've also I want to tell folks I'm on a live stream on my YouTube channel. You want to say hello? Hey, I've stopped when the election people come around and want to have my name on the electoral roll. I tell them no. Well, you can refuse. They say they're going to fine you, but they're not allowed to fine you actually.
Yeah.
So I've just found out with my 18-month-old baby. We decided not to give him a birth certificate or not go through that process. We told the government that they couldn't have that, so everyone said you won't get a passport. But his passport arrived just a few months ago, so we're good to go, man. No birth certificate. But this is from a point where my oldest daughter is 19 and she's gone through the system totally vaccinated, you know, the whole 9 yards. And in the university system and totally unhappy that Dad thinks that her history classes are not correct or have been very manipulated to create a certain narrative of our history that is robbed us of the true nature of what and who we are and where we come from.
It's amazing you should say that because we only discussed that yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In your family? You were talking about
My
this?
wife.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Dave. Your name is?
Stuart.
Stuart, hi.
How do you do?
Nice to meet you, Stuart.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, oh, wow, that's awesome. I mean, my wife and I have got to a point where, from an atheist, I was an atheist 3 years ago. I didn't believe in any kind of creator or God or anything like that, truth be told. But now I know there's a creator. I know that we are of the creator, and I know that we are on a divine mission or a divine journey here to raise our own light, our own vibration, whatever terminology you like to use.
I'm with you.
And with that, then spread the word.
You won't find that with mainstream Christianity.
No.
So you have to look a bit deeper.
Yeah. Although I don't identify as a Christian, I identify with the Christ character. I think that each of us has the Christ potential. He was a Jew.
He was a messenger.
All right, yeah,
He was a spiritual being.
Well, I'd offer you this as my consideration, is that actually, what if he's us? I mean, we're him, and we have all the essential ingredients to raise ourselves to that Christ, or that sort of that beautiful level of consciousness, if you like. Hey, I know it's a bit new age, but and that's and so yeah.
And he raised himself to that awareness.
Okay, so and then I think that the system knows that, and it doesn't want us to achieve that with
you'll
ourselves.
Be in control.
Yes.
You'll have control
Yes.
of yourself.
Yes.
And you can't
Yes. Yes.
We can't have you knowing
No.
you're controlling your own destiny.
Yes.
It's easier to let them control.
Yes. Yes.
Much easier.
Yes. Oh, well, and this, they get certain. They can exploit us in so many different ways.
That's right. That's why you don't want that fluoride touching your pineal gland.
Ah, you know about the pineal gland? Do you know about DMT? DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, which is what is made in the pineal gland. Okay.
A very, very slight idea on that.
Okay. I won't go down that rabbit hole right now, but it's worth looking into. There's a documentary called The Spirit Molecule on YouTube. It's worth looking at, and it has peer-reviewed science from the Americans. Did a study on DMT. It's the only study that's ever been done. Clinical trials, and so it's really worth looking at, because I'd never even heard of the pineal gland. But turns out for me, it's like the electronic connection or the electric connection to the higher realm, the higher source. Yes. Yes, this man knows what he's talking about. So you've moved away from the fluoride toothpaste and things like that? Perfect. That's what we use. That's what we use in our family. Thanks to Iron Rail Media, actually, if he's listening. For Adam at Iron Rail Media, gave me some at the Flat Earth Conference in Birmingham this year.
Lovely, yeah.
So yeah, onto this. Turns out that 3 years ago I couldn't find curvature. I realized that they were saying that there's no measurable curvature. We think we see it from an aeroplane. We think we see it when we see a ship going over the curvature of the horizon. But it turns out these things are illusions or optical events that we can explain. What we can't explain is the lack of measurement, the actual measurement of curvature. We can take a laser over 20, 30 miles and find it to be perfectly level. We know that lakes and still beds of water are always mirror flat, mirror level. So at what point does things start to curve when it comes to water? Well, we're told only when it's too big for us to see it. And that becomes like a religious statement.
Yeah. I'm with you.
So it took me some long while, but now in my third year or third and a half year of this, I'm able to come and stand in the street and handle the heckling of people who think that I've lost my stones. But I say to people that if you think now that we've had this pointed out to you that rocks float in the sky or on time and space, then you have rocks still jangling around in your skull. So I try not to be unkind about it, because at the end of the day, it is a deep indoctrination. In fact, the more
people just believe
what we've been taught,
what you've been educated.
and the teachers were the ones who get the A in class. So they got top marks.
I was talking about it yesterday that people they don't want to wake up, but they want to believe what Darwin told them.
Yes.
And who's Darwin? I mean,
Yes.
why should I believe him?
Yes, and if you look into what his grandfather was up to and so on, they were pushing this.
Darwin said that this happened, that happened. So everyone wants to
Yes.
disprove
Yes.
everything because Darwin said so. So I don't buy into it.
No, and we can't find any evidence for evolution, like a complete half-stage evolution thing.
We've managed to evolve, you can call it that, but the monkeys haven't.
Yeah. Where's the half monkey? Yeah, half man, half monkey. Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Really a pleasure. You are an interesting man. Did you say his name
How
was?
do we find you? Where are you?
Well, we've got a YouTube. My friend here, Harry's got a YouTube channel. I'll give you his details because you've got to check it out. 1 second. Harry, have you got a business card, your John Smith card for you, my friend? Sorry to interrupt your conversation. You look like a very interesting lady to speak to. Thanks, buddy. Oh, you go, man. All right. Alrighty.
Yeah, so
All right. Doing my part. Good evening, friends. We're here to tell you that you've been lied to about the world you live on. It's provably a flat plane. Good evening, sir.
I don't know where you're coming from with this.
Okay, which particular part do you want to ask me about?
I don't know where to start, really.
All right. Can I offer you my first gambit? Water has never been shown to curve on its surface. Yeah, other than in a droplet, water has never been shown to curve. So we've got level water as far as the eye can see. Now in this little pamphlet, we've given you a photograph that's 400 kilometers in distance over the water, proving that the island in the distance of 400 kilometers is at the same level as the beach that the photo is taken from. It should be, that beach, 3 miles below the curve of the water, below the bulge of this marble that we live on, according to the maths that were given by the scientists who claim we live on this ball. So that's my first thing. And what stopped me 3 years ago in my tracks was that I realized that if I try to measure curvature, I can't find it anywhere. I know people say they see it from the plane, they see the ship going over the curvature. Yes. I accept that these things are visual effects that we might see, but when we try and measure it, which is what good science is, then we find that there is zero curvature from beach to beach, from ocean to ocean. The only variation in height comes from tidal action. Wave action, perhaps, in a storm situation, a low or high pressure environment might create it, but that's not the curvature. That's just the water going up and down in the bath as you get in and out of it. Or maybe if you pass wind. Anyway, so that's my first gambit, sir. There is no measurable curvature on this earth. So we've been given this story when we were in class in school that if you spin a bucket and show the centripetal force that's occurring there, that is what would be the effect of gravity. Now, gravity is just a theory, and from this theory of gravity, which is the apple dropping on Sir Isaac Newton's head, we also get relativity, and this is also a further supposition which allows you to walk on the underside of a ball, which when we were 5 years old, we would have said that's impossible. We know we'll fall off. But the teacher would have said, no, because of relativity, which you cannot understand, you can walk underneath a ball and the rivers will flow up the ball like they're on a flat plane, like a flat surface.
What is the idea of all this? Like, you just proving that there is a
Okay, so once you realize that that's possible, that your government or our government and our control systems, our education systems have been so badly traduced, so badly overrun by misinformation or flat out lies, because at the end of the day, I'm saying that Tim Peake is a bold-faced liar. I mean, at the end of the day, he could not have gone up into space. He did a spacewalk from a desalinated swimming pool, is where they do all their training in these swimming pools, right? That's as far as I'm concerned. So what we're calling out is the status quo, and saying that the status quo is completely at odds with reality, and we want people to come back to reality, because until people really understand their own senses, have true contact with their own senses, they are not going to be making good decisions for themselves. They're going to increasingly rely on a big brother government to make decisions for them and to be the arbiter of what is and what is not correct. So if the BBC decides today to tell you that a UFO, aliens landed on a golf course in Kensington Palace Gardens, for example, the rest of the world would start believing it almost overnight. But if an alien craft did land on the gardens in Kensington, and the BBC said it was only a light aircraft that crashed, the world would believe it was a light aircraft. So what we believe today is given to us by a controlling network of families or controllers that I say are a franchise, who are all working hand in glove to hold down the human story. Some people suggest that we've come now to the end of the low. The last 7,000 years has been a very low period. We've been dumbed down, we've been broken, held back, enslaved, and so on, across the piece. The Europeans, the Africans, the Americans, the lot. But now this information is starting to leak out. Perhaps we have an opportunity to start raising the vibration, or raising the kind of the opportunity for people to just realize their true divinity, their true purpose here. Because our true purpose is not to be slightly evolved monkeys who get a 60-year lifespan and a 20-year pension if we're lucky. No, we're meant to be like this divine creature, having some much more incredible experience, one that's been robbed from us. So I'm not saying I'm complaining because I've had it robbed from me, but I have children. I think that what is it they say? Evil triumphs when good men do nothing. And I think it's my turn now at the age of 50 to stand up and do something to help move the human story forward. And that's my story, sir. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing it.
So you're not a religion?
No religion. I do not accept religion at all. Well, I like science, but I wouldn't call myself a scientist or scientismist, which is what we call the science of Lawrence Krauss and Neil deGrasse Tyson. They believe in all this. It's all that quantum, all that sort of hypothesizing, string theories and so on. It's all mind-bending stuff designed to give them black holes and light years and things that you and I can never prove.
You're coming out and saying that these are all lies and made up.
Yes.
But what I can't get from you is that why are you standing and saying it, you know?
Where else can we do it, sir? What do you mean? The BBC are not going to give us much airtime, and if they do, they'll ridicule us. So the best way that So the best. Well, I've been doing this. Well, I've been aware of this for 3 years, and for a long time I was watching people do things on the internet, trying to talk to each other in chat groups and so on. But really, the reality is that we actually have to get eye to eye with our brothers and sisters, and they can look me in the eye and go, "This man, he sounds a bit crazy, but he looks reasonably sane." And maybe I need to go away in a few months' time or a few weeks' time and start to look at the stuff that guy said, and this is what I'm hoping to do, or we're hoping to do, is to spark conversations in people's homes, in businesses and so on, that eventually build into a head of steam that becomes unstoppable. Because once we hit 5 or 10%, it'll be almost, people say, "Oh yeah, of course we knew the earth was flat. We've obviously water's flat and level." No. I mean, for me, the political system is a franchise system. The whole world is under one grid. The borders are created by the same grid owners, the risk board or the monopoly board. Putin?
No, pollution.
Oh, pollution. Well, I think we should be taking care of Mother Nature. We should be taking care of our Earth, absolutely. But I also think that the greenhouse agenda and all of that is just another another way of taxing people, because the earth, if you know that the earth is flat, you know that the earth can clean itself. So the oceans are constantly being replenished with fresh water, the air is being replenished. And I'll give you an example that no matter how dirty Beijing is or India is or any of these polluting countries, everywhere I've ever been on a spring morning in the world, you go and the air is perfectly clean, the crisp, there's no pollution and so on. So I think that the system is actually self-cleaning. The air is self-cleaning, almost in a biblical way. I think that in the Genesis, it talks a lot about, not that I'm trying to sell the Bible, I don't, but I think that there's a lot of truths in that about how this system actually operates. So I've taken some of those stuff, because when I was a kid, actually, I had a lot of Bible study, and I told the preacher, I said, it's a flat earth book, by the way. They didn't like me saying that, but so obviously I went for science. I was much more in line with, I thought, well, we're the modern scientists now. The science knows that these ancient people didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I discarded the Bible and all of that. But when I found out about the flat earth theory, I went back to the Bible. Now, I don't sell the Bible. I don't think any of these religions are anything but control systems. However, they do hide within them truths, esoteric truths about who and what we are. And I would go so far as to suggest to you, so that we might well be the Christ essence. Each of us may well be that, and this lifetime is our opportunity to unleash or release the Christ within each of us.
So how are you going to organise yourself? I quite understand coming out in the street and telling people your beliefs. But then, where'd you go from there?
Okay, well, that's a great question, sir. I actually think that for right now I don't know too much beyond tomorrow and the day after that. I'm sort of. So I used to be in the government. I used to work in the government and stuff. But when I found out all this stuff, I quit all of that. I've been gardening and trying to make my own way. I don't know day to day how I'm going to pay the bills. But for me right now, I'm just here. I've put myself in the front line, and tomorrow, and we will see where this will go, because my friends have had some BBC interviews lately. There's been some other press that we've had. On the 3rd of November, we've got a fairly big sort of press event in London that's kicking off. So, we're going to get more and more traction. Well, we try not to call ourselves anything other than humans who know that the earth can't be a spinning ball, and that what we want to do, because the thing is that the moment you become a group and a name group and what have you, that's something that can be controlled. We know that the system has always found its own way to control every movement. And we think that that's probably already happening with the flat earth, but we can at least try and keep ourselves just an organic grassroots kind of thing, going around talking to people, doing perhaps tours like this, doing speaking events at universities. I'm trying to make some hookups with universities at the moment, actually, to get because they have their own flat earth societies now burgeoning. So, there's plenty of youngsters that'll be willing to write papers on it, and eventually, over 5-10 years, you'll start to see people go, oh, okay, I can give the flat earth theory some airtime. I'm willing to not ridicule it anymore. And eventually, maybe we'll get to a place where people have found that. Now, I want to help them move from that. You don't want to find out the earth is flat and still go and watch football. Because you realize that, a little bit of local football might be fun, but sitting at home watching your TV and watching their adverts and watching their football and their flicker rate on the TV and all that stuff, that's poison for the mind. You're not here to be constantly entertained. I'm not suggesting that a Saturday football match is a bad idea. No, I'm not. But people are watching football 24/7 or watching their bakery cookery programs 24/7 and doing nothing about growing their inner self, knowing thyself, which is where it all comes down to. So I don't really know where we go from here. I mean, if the government decided to shut this down, they'd probably be able to do that quite easily, I suppose, if they wanted to. Yeah.
I have to take issue with you about pollution, because some of the stuff we're putting into the sea, we don't know what it's doing.
I think it's disgusting what we're putting into the sea. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't be polluting. No. I think it is being. I think despite this is what they know. The system controllers know they can have an Exxon Valdez event. They can have the Shell event in the Texan Bay or whatever. They can have those events and give it 5 years, and the oceans will clean themselves. I mean, I've seen this myself. In Durban, where I grew up, we'd have these oil spills, and then the beaches would self-clean. Where's that dirt going? I despise waste. Perhaps, but I despise waste. I'm not about waste. I'm not about overusing products, and I'm certainly not about putting poisons or even dropping my litter. I'm not about that either. But I'm also not about beating people up and saying you're the problem. You humans are the parasite that is killing the earth, because it's the corporations who are themselves dead entities that are killing the earth. But there is always putting the blame on the little man, on the sheep, on the cattle, on the farm, rather than actually on the farm owners and the game controllers, because they want to continue to make us feel bad or fight each other and argue over plastics and cardboard and separating this and doing that and all this sort of shit. I'm saying let's stop fighting with each other. Because most of these dialectics, yes or no, red or white, red or blue, Pepsi or Coke, these are all designed, Manchester United or Chelsea or whatever, these are all designed to keep people kind of squibbling with each other. You know, maybe at the lower level it's not so serious, but at the serious level, you're going to war with each other. People are going to war with each other. And in my experience, I did. I went to war in Angola because I thought the communists were coming in 1987. We were told they were coming, and I did my national service and went to war in Angola. So I know all about how the indoctrination can mess with the mind, and everybody's mind, sir, everybody's minds on this plane has been messed with. Absolutely. There is not a one of us, I don't think, that has escaped that messery. I'm doing my best to unpick that and offer that to other people because my life has got far more purpose now at the age of 50 than it did at the age of 40. I can assure you of that. I am so full of vigor and vim and life for my own life, not because I'm doing this, but because I know that I have this beautiful kind of joyous thing that I have to live, rather than this, I'm a lucky thing and I'm going to die, and no, none of that. Sir, it's been so interesting talking to you. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time.
I'm still interested in what you said.
Thank you.
What was that YouTube
channel? My one or Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll write. No, you want John Smith's one. That's the big one. And you can get more information and lead you to more information from there. I wish I had more battery power. I'm down to a few percentage on my batteries because I'm getting some lovely joining ladies here. And let me just write this down for you. Actually, I've got his business card. I'd save me writing it down. That's your pen, sir? I don't want to take... Hello, ladies. I'm here to tell you, with the more love I can offer, that the earth is flat. I think they're a little bit wanked off. Don't tell us that. We're going back to the Halifax, Bob. How'd I get into it? Do you know what? I found out 4 years ago that the 9/11 wasn't done by the 19 Muslims that I've been taught. It was done by the American government, the British, the Israelis, the Russians. They're all in bed together, and they conspired to pull off this massive hoax on the world. People died. I'm not saying that people didn't die on 9/11, but the motives and the players are not what we're taught, not what we're told. And when I found that out, I started looking beyond that and going, okay, what else have I been lied about? You look into the Titanic, you look into a bunch of other conspiracy theories that I never would have given any time to before. 1987, I was 19. 1987, the war ended in 1988. It is 31 years now, yeah. Since reunion 30 years last year, but I couldn't make it. I published a book that Prince Harry has a copy of my book. It's called Battle on the Lomba in 1987. It was published by a British publisher called Helion. They're the UK's biggest military publisher, and they saw my story and they're like, yeah, we'll write you this. And another historian has picked up on the story since then. Because of it being Cold War, no one talks about these battles that were real, but they were really going on. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You've been... Okay. Well, we should talk again. I'll write you my YouTube account on on that card of Harry's, because you're welcome to write to me, and I will refer you to other information if you want it. If you want it.
I just want to find out a bit more about you. I wondered if when you was out in Angola in that war, you might have had effects on your brain, you know.
Yeah, sure. You know what? When I was a kid, sir, I used to cry. When I was 8 years old, I would cry if my sisters killed ants. They would kill ants and make me cry.
But then in Angola, you see that.
Then propaganda made me go and kill people. So that's the bottom line. 1 second. All right. My YouTube name is Trinity4, and they called me that in the army, Trinity. That was a nickname I picked up in the army because I look like Terence Hill, apparently. So they gave me that nickname, Trinity. Now, that's my YouTube name. So you can go and find me there, and I'll talk to you as much as you like.
So you come from South Africa?
I was born in Dorset, but my parents emigrated when I was young. So I kind of grew up there, and sort of my pals with. Yeah, born, and British, and you know all that. But you know, I'm a loyal guy, you know, and I grew up in my country. I was loyal to my country. I was loyal to my government, and so on. Not that I believed in apartheid, the apartheid, but I was just a go along kind of guy, you know. I even marched past the Queen a few years ago at Veterans Remembrance Day down at the Mall, and you know, in Whitehall. But that's 5 years ago before I started unpicking some of this truth. Now I know, like I said, 9/11 was the key for me. 9/11 was, I was trying to look into, I wanted to write a second book, and I was trying to look into like how the world worked, and I realized I knew very little about how the world really worked and how Islam and Christianity were at war with each other and so on. I tried to look into that, and then I found 9/11. I was like, shit, my researching skills were already honed, and then I looked into the 9/11, spent 2 months totally immersed in that, and came out of the other end like, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, and I don't know half of it, and I'm still working a lot of this stuff out. But I think that if you know that you're playing on a flat plane, a pitch, your chessboard is flat rather than a ball, it does help you get your feeting, your grounding. Lovely to meet you, sir. All the best. How about that? I'm almost out of battery, guys. Hey, hi. Oh, sorry, brother. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All I'm saying is, testing.
Can I just suggest that?